Since 1990, there have been around 30 wars in Africa. 27 of these wars were fought for the sake of acquiring fertile soil. The great revolutions of the world. The Russian Bolshevik Revolution of 1917 was mainly for bread. Even their slogan is peace, land and bread. That is the slogan of the Russian Revolution. Food scarcities in France were the main trigger for the French Revolution. What happened in China, you know, the so-called Cultural Revolution, is also because of repeated famines across the country, and once there is no bread on the street, it's easy to light the fuse.
If you want peace, everybody must have bread, roti, food. There is no peace if there is no food. It's simple as that.
Soil is a most neglected part of the human environment. Degrading soils means losing and wasting potential food today and forever. A human being, like other animals, are requiring a fairly complex diet and many nutrients. And these nutrients we get through our food, and that essentially depend on the soils. So the soils, rich in nutrients, in minerals, are a precondition for a healthy diet. There's a direct link between soil quality in terms of nutrients and diet quality in terms of what we. Not well understood by many people.
You have to put into the soil nutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, micronutrient, calcium, magnesium, potassium, organic matter, content which is mineralized and take. It must be returned back to the soil in one form or the other for soil to be productive. Soil produces straw, grains, roots. I believe that if people take the grains and return the roots and straw back to the soil, so that soil gets its share of production, that's a good thing. If you take away the straw, then soil does not get anything. So progressively soil is being degraded, depleted, devoid of the essential elements. That is when we call degradation of soil health. And when soil is degraded, people living on it are also becoming progressively miserable.
The soil depletion in United States has led to 21% drop in vitamin A in all the fruits, vegetables and everything else that you're eating. 30% drop in vitamin C, 37% drop in iron levels, 27% drop in calcium levels. The things that today you all think is very healthy to eat salads and stuff, from the early 20th century, what level of nutrients they had and what they have today is only 10% left, 90% lower than what it was in early 20th century. Center for Disease Control, which is right now playing a significant role in this COVID situation, says all Americans are potassium deficient. 90% of the Americans have vitamin E deficiency, 70% have vitamin K deficiency, 52% don't have enough magnesium, 43% don't have enough vitamin A, 40% don't have enough vitamin C. This is in the most affluent nation. It simply means the food that you're eating doesn't have enough nutrients, even if you eat enough food. because soil has been destroyed like this. One serious problem that the world is facing right now is, by 2030, it is expected 1.6 billion people will migrate. Out of this, 0.9 billion will come from Africa. See, when people migrate in an unplanned way, what they go through is unbelievable, especially women and children. What they go through in unplanned migration where they're being dragged through all kinds of unfamiliar terrain, what happens to them is unbelievable. Nobody should face this. All young women like between 14 to 18 years of age, they're being seriously exploited. It is expected that in India, about 220 million people will move to urban centers in the next 8 to 10 years' time. Tell me, in your city, do you have place for another 20-30 million people extra? This will happen in a big way across the world.
Yes, there are soil refugees. Yes, there are climate refugees. Yes, there are drought refugees. And those refugees go and knock door of other people. The US southern border is a very good example. People jumping into the Mediterranean without realizing whether they'll make it on the other side or not. It's a very good example. There are several millions of refugees in the world because the land which they grew up on cannot afford their services, their basic needs. Eventually the solution lies to make sure that the soil can support them. There's a very strong link between soil degradation and global issues. For example, climate change. So, current civilization, I call it carbon civilization. Everything we do is based on carbon, fossil fuel based carbon. And therefore we have depleted also carbon not only from fossil fuel, but also from soil.
Maximum amount of carbon was always…
This is the wonder. You can call it 8th or 9th. Soil life is very important. This is not an inert substance. This is our life. So this is the most important thing that has been taught because of the safe soil movement. Slowly people are trying to understand that soil is something which is not negligible or we can ignore it. Okay, so we cannot ignore soil. What is it? Technically speaking, the top layer of the soil is what gives life to the soil, which is basically a microbial material. So this is what we are talking about. You can see these microbes which are running around. We must feel it looks filthy, but this is our life. This is what makes the fruit on this planet. So once this is not there, once this has not given a proper importance, once people are ignorant about this fact, maybe because of modernization, because people are thinking we have to buy a car, we have to buy a home, we have to build a new building, that's okay, but you cannot ignore the soil. If you ignore the soil, you have to pay for it. After a period of time when there is no food, you cannot eat the car. You have to make sure that how a farmer or agricultural land deals with the soil, it should be very, very clear. This is very important that this is very clear how person deals with the agricultural land. So this is about a policy making change, okay, so that we can make the change, because this period of time maybe you can do something good, I may do something good, but the future generation will not know what to do. So it should be embedded in the law system, okay, so that this is how the soil should be treated. And if you kill a microbe on the soil, I will punish you. This is a normal way of doing, but farmers are the one who are highly in a place where they don't have enough income. So you cannot say these words to them. The best way is you make the organic content, the 3%, you get more subsidies. That's the way to go. So government want to make sure that you have this minimum level of organic content, and then you'll be subsidized or you'll be given a lot of extra benefits. This is what our farmer should aim, because he know there's a reward system. Punishment system is also important in some places according to how it works, but usually farmers are the one who are the most vulnerable population. So it's better to give more rewards so that they can make the change. And then the most important thing is the awareness among the people. This is what the Save Soil movement is doing. We create awareness to, this is what we are doing right now, to make sure that people understand the value of the organic content and what kind of nutrients it will have. Just now we saw the depletion of nutrients, but if the food is grown at 6% of the organic content, the nutrient quality will be super high, okay. So if you're eating 10 bananas from a low nutrient, let's say 5%, 0.5% to 1%, and you're eating one banana at 6% organic content, so you are having the same amount of nutrients. So you better pay a little more and get less and have the same nutrients rather than eating so much, right? So this is how it should be valued. This is what can be employed. Let's say we go to a shopping mall and we buy some fruits. So fruits, we see which one has a 6% organic content. This demand will make the farmer realize that organic content is important because it has been sold in the high price. Once they know this, economy has to be there, okay. If there is no money, farmer will not do it, okay. Once they realize that the things which are going in higher organic content has more amount of money, for sure they will make sure that they have the 6% organic content at least, or even more, okay. So once we have this thing going on and one farmer competes with another farmer for organic content, now that is going to change the health of our soil, and indirectly that will also affect the health of a human being, because this is not two different things, okay. This is the same thing. So when two different phases are affected, but two different, you have a lower burden of the health issues in the human being, okay. You have more healthy human being, and that is going to positively impact the environment, okay. So this is how it works. So let's listen and finish this one.
In the soil, but now a lot of it is in the atmosphere where it should not be. If it gets into the atmosphere, as you've heard of global warming and climate change, all these impacts happen. But nearly 40% of this is happening simply because soil is left open. For this, the main contributor is agriculture or open lands. The same soil which would have taken carbon dioxide and methane from the atmosphere is now releasing it simply because we are leaving it open and there is no life or microbial activity.
When the global mean temperature goes from 0 to 1, that's a big thing. Go from 1 to 2, it's a massive thing. Go beyond 2, you're in a disaster zone. We are now on our way to a warming of 3 degrees Celsius. And we're doing it in a blink of time. I mean, it's just this extraordinary exponential rise of temperature on Earth.
But if we can take carbon dioxide from the atmosphere through plants and put it back to the soil and keep it there, then we deplete the carbon from the atmosphere and make global warming lesser serious problem.
The Brazilian part of the Amazon rainforest has, according to the latest science, tipped over from being a carbon sink for thousands of years, one of the most important carbon sinks on planet Earth, to now being a carbon source. So it has already tipped over and is releasing more carbon than it's taking up. So soil has become, you know, if anything, even more important, even existential.
See, the whole life process on this planet is carbon-based. So, the same goes for a blade of grass, the same goes for the coconut tree, the same goes for every other creature on this planet. Essentially carbon. Where is all this carbon coming from? The great miracle on the planet, in the process of evolution of creation on this planet, is photosynthesis. A limitless amount of energy coming there from the sun. Using that, the atmospheric carbon is absorbed and it goes through a whole series of process through millions of microbial life and gets stored in the soil. What gets stored in this way, going through 3 to 4 cycles of microbes, this gets stored up to 1,000 years minimum.
We've become a geological force of change. We are at risk of destabilizing not only, you know, local ecosystems and local living conditions, but the entire planet.
United Nations says we only have 60 years of agricultural soil left. So within 50 years' time, there will be a serious food crisis on the planet. A mass famine would be inevitable.
You know, I know people always say, you know, we only have 60 more years of agriculture to go. Yeah, but that was 10 years ago that we made that statement. We're at 50, guys.
Soil is a living entity. It has a lot of organisms. And when those organisms are killed, soil is no longer healthy. Soil is no longer living.
So technically all of these are dead
Soil
soil.
cannot create the ecosystem services. When soil dies, everything else dies with it, including us.
Or we are just killing it with the machines. We need them. We also need to bring
If
the
we
animal back.
start correcting it now, in 15 to 25 years, we can make a reasonable level of correction. We can come away from the brink where we are. But if you leave it for
Very
another 30
grateful.
to 40 years and then try to do it, it will take 150 to 200 years to regenerate the soil. So this is not about just painting a dark picture of everything. This is a moment of responsibility that we as human beings, if you stand up right now, we can turn this around.
Soils is the very basis for biology and human life, but we also know that we cannot destroy nature to feed humanity, because that will threaten the stability of the planet, which means the life support for humans and all species on Earth. So we now need to be caretakers of soil.
The cost of action is much lower than the cost of inaction dealing with soil and land degradation. But it's not something which the individual farmers can do. It has to have a large regional, if not global, initiative.
This depletion of soil has happened because we have not put back the organic content back into the soil of what we are taking out. So we are seeing how to get a policy in 192 countries to make this the norm, that if you own agricultural land, minimum 3 to 6% organic content must be there by law. Initially by recommendation, then by incentives, and then by law, by mandatory law, it has to happen. If it's not in the law, then we don't know what they will do tomorrow. That's what we have done, isn't it? From previous generation to this generation, in one generation we've ruined it because there was no law. If there was a law, minimum agriculture content should be… organic content should be there in it, we would have kept it that way. So first and foremost thing is to bring the law. To bring the law, what is needed? This is a democracy. That means people are the power, it's people's power. That's what it means. So there are two very powerful things in your hands right now. One is your vote, another is your microphone. Hello? That means your voice.
We need to raise our voice.
This is important. The people of the world have to speak and say, we are ready for long-term solutions, we are ready for long-term commitment, we are ready for a long haul, we are willing to pay the price for the well-being of future generations. This is why the Save Soil movement is not about action, but it's about bringing policy change. As a part of this, I'm 65 and I'm riding 30,000 kilometers across 24 nations to activate support from the citizenry. We are trying to get about 3 to 3.5 billion people to speak about soil for these 100 days. From March 21st, 100 days, we want the whole world to talk about soil. We have UNCCD as our partner. We have also signed something with the World Food Programme, and the scientists from FAO and other organizations are working with us. World Economic Forum is very much with us. Most governments have come on board. Heads of states will be flagging off this rally. Right now, that's what I'm trying to create, that if 3.5 billion people speak, this is 60% of the electorate. If 60% of the electorate speaks, there is no government which will ignore that in a democratically set up government. Each one of you should reach as many people as you can to make this happen. Many global leaders and influencers are already participating in the movement. Be a part of this and let us make it happen.
For my part, as much as I can contribute.
And the movement that you are taken up, I could not expect any more God's blessing than that.
Sadhguru, and this campaign is so important.
We're going to save the soil. Do your part.
And saving the soils.
And our planet's future depend on it.
Sadhguru, save soil, my friend.
Save soil, let's make it happen.
GM Barbuda is part of the Save Soil mission.
We commend you for what you're doing. That is why we are happy to sign the MOU.
The science and philosophy that backs the thought behind the movement is tremendous.
Save soil, let's make it happen.
Save the soil.
We know what we must do, so let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
Let's make this happen.
Let us make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen.